Look at this dog, now back to me. Now back to this dog, now back to me. Sadly, I am not this dog, but if you've played this game by now, I wouldn't need this dog. Look down, back up, what do you see? It's a spoiler warning. Anything is possible when you've already played the game. I'm on a Temmie. Hey everyone, Gaijin Kumba here. Well, as most of you know, I've been going on an Undertale crusade trying to explain how 90% of this game is culturally rooted in Ireland. From Flowey to Toriel to Undyne, I think I've covered just about every one between Culture Shock and Game Exchange. Except one, Sans. He's an interesting guy to say the least. He passes himself off as lazy, simple, and somewhat incompetent. But for those of us that have played the game, we know better. He has the ability to move almost interdimensionally with his shortcuts. He has a hidden hatred for humans. He's insanely strong in combat by not only hitting hard, but being impossible to hit with his speed. And no matter what run you're on, Sans is there to judge your actions and execute you, if necessary, according to your transgressions. And that eye, that one glowing eye, is a haunting image accompanied by his overwhelming fighting capabilities. And if we get lucky and finally cut him down, he bleeds? Awfully strange behavior for a skeleton. So why am I telling you all this? Well, dear theorists, Sans, in all of the complex fan theories that surround him, is actually something very simple but very ancient. Sans is a revenant. Taken from the Latin word meaning returning or come back, revenants are very old, fairly complex undead, being somewhere between a vampire and a zombie. Originating in Western Europe, particularly England and Ireland, revenants were far more deadly than the above-mentioned monsters. Unlike the undead, revenants had only one purpose in existence: revenge. Whether murdered or wronged before death, these creatures terrorized the living until their wrongdoers found and swiftly eliminated. They were strong, fast, and most deadly, intelligent killing machines. So what on earth does this assassin zombie have to do with lovable, lazy Sans? Everything. I mean, come on. They look exactly the same, short with that goofy grin on their faces. But I know it's going to take more evidence than that to be convincing, so strap in, folks, we got a lot of ground to cover. First, let's talk about the serious side of Sans. It's very obvious he hates humans, saying things like, "You'd be dead where you stand," had he not promised Toriel to protect any human that passes. Though he says it's a joke, it's very obvious that Sans has his own darker objectives, and this would lead me to believe that he may very well have killed humans before. Revenants? Absolutely no different. While they are undead with one focus, revenge, folk stories have told how they would terrorize humanity until they found their wrongdoer. They may not be mindless shamblers, but they have no love for humans and will actively attack them with the intent to kill. Next, let's talk about Sans' fighting capability. The dude hits hard. Like, really hard. He's the toughest fight in the game and the strongest monster in Undertale. But just because he's strong doesn't mean he's slow. In fact, he's so fast, the only time you can land a hit on him is if he's sleeping. These are two other factors that make revenants so terrifying in old Western European lore. They weren't mindless, stupid shamblers. They moved faster and hit harder than when they were alive. Now, the reason why revenants were so much faster and stronger and smarter than other undead comes from the fact that unlike shambling zombies or skeletons who have a mock soul, revenants were brought back with the same soul that departed their body. Not only that, but they retained all of the memories that their soul obtained in life, making them much more intelligent and cunning. This is yet another quality Sans shares. Despite being obviously undead, Sans has a soul. We know this from the Pacifist run when you're actually reaching out to Sans and Papyrus's soul in order to save them. But the one thing I can't get past is I'm almost 100% certain that in all of the timelines where Flowey has killed everyone, including Sans, Sans remembers. Every death and every reset, Sans must have retained the memories of the past timelines. We know he understands the world keeps resetting and theoretically knows people keep dying. It's not like with a reset he would forget resets exist. In fact, when you think about it, maybe the reason he wants to kill the player character in the first place is because in a past timeline he knows the player was committing genocide against all the other monsters and ready and willing to enact his vengeance, but only if he absolutely had to. Sorry, I was getting a little existential there. Regardless, Sans' soul somehow retains a vast deal of past memories, regardless of what happens to his corporeal body, which, like the Revenant, is one of his greatest strengths. But let's get out of these theoretical time-space mechanics and talk about something more simple. As previously stated, when you do land your hit on Sans, he bleeds, which is kinda weird. Skeletons don't bleed, but Revenants do. In the Historia Rerum Angelicarium by William of Newburgh, we learn that revenants are not only super powerful undead, but they were also vampiric. In the book, a corpse of a revenant was found swollen and, quote, suffused with blood. Now, what's the one and only thing we ever see Sans eat? Or should I say drink? Yeah, ketchup. Or is it really ketchup? Is it blood? Either way, it could very easily be symbolic to blood. This would explain not only why Sans is being rather swollen and stout himself, but also his ability to bleed when cut. To those saying that Sans still couldn't bleed because he's skeletal, well, that's another interesting thing about revenants. They could still have all of their flesh, be nothing but bones, or anywhere in between. Simply put, Sans could be a revenant whose only component of flesh and blood is his torso. But let's talk about that glowing eye of his. This is the greatest link between Sans and revenants. Like I said, revenants were brought back from death with one objective: revenge. But what you may not know is that something very special happens when the revenant finds their target. Their eyes will glow as they fixate on their wrongdoer. And when is the one and only time we see Sans do this? When he confronts the player for their wrongdoing and attacks them, getting his revenge for the death of his friends and brother. Since Sans judges the player by specifically calling out how often they've killed, it's safe to say he's been following the player in the shadows for quite some time, finally confronting the player in an attempt to bring them to justice. Man, it's been a really wild ride completely taking apart Undertale culturally. And if you missed out on my other analysis videos covering the other characters from Flowey to Undyne, click right here to check them out. But if you're looking for even more culture and gaming, punch that eye, annotations, and links in the description for more. But until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goomba signing out.